Hello, everyone. Welcome to Berkeley Haas. If you haven't sat down already, I invite you to find your seat. And thank you for joining us this morning. My name's Corey Cunningham. So I'm a graduate of the Evening Weekend MBA program of 2020. So I got the first taste of COVID learning. And it was funny, I was telling my colleagues, actually, I haven't been back to campus in 2 years, so it feels good to be back again. But I also serve as the co-chair for the Berkeley Haas Alumni Council. And what I really enjoy most about volunteering is the incredible alumni community I've met along the way throughout my student and alumni experience. We really do have a fantastic community that I'm very proud of. And if you're looking to get more involved with the community, please let me know. We have tons of programs and communities we'd love more help with. But today, I'm thrilled to invite Dr. Sahar Yousef here today to share her exciting work on the science of energy management. It's funny, we actually did a remote event about a year ago in the midst of COVID, and it was fantastic. It was a really great program. But at the conclusion of her talk, we'll have some opportunity for questions for Dr. Yousef. We're also going to do it virtually too, so if you have any questions on the YouTube chat, you can put it in there and we'll get to those. But it's my pleasure now to introduce Dr. Yousef. Dr. Yousef is a cognitive neuroscientist as well as the youngest faculty at UC Berkeley's Haas School of Business. She teaches one of the most popular MBA classes, which is called Becoming Superhuman, the Science of Productivity and Performance, and has been featured in Forbes, The Wall Street Journal, Wired, Business Insider. Outside of the academic world, Dr. Yousef co-runs Becoming Superhuman, which is a training and consulting firm which she teaches busy professionals who think for a living how to get the most out of their life, the most work done in less time with less stress. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Yousef.
Thank you so much, Corey. Okay, how are we feeling? I know I'm supposed to talk about energy, so let's begin with like a scale. I saw a lot of naughty treats outside. Are we going to have a sugar crash about halfway through? It's fine. This is an open dialogue. You all will, some of you already know this as being either old Cal grads or current Cal students. We like to have a very open, transparent, communicative atmosphere, I like to think. So if you're feeling like you're sugar crashing, feel free to let me know, and then say that you need help. Just put a hand up, and then maybe I'll just come up and shake you a little bit. All right, let's get started. Thank you, Corey, so much for the introduction. In the Haas community, I know I'm a bit of a black sheep as my background is in biology. So today we're going to be really zeroing in on what my lab specialty is, which is the science and the neuroscience of productivity and performance. So how humans live and work, how we operate, and how we might be able to optimize that and work more in line with our biology instead of against it. So we're trying to reduce frictions, so to speak. So what to expect today? We're going to go over two of the biggest mistakes that people make when they are working, specifically, okay? We're going to talk about the scientific reasons behind these mistakes. And just to give you all a sense of the structure of these mini modules, I'm going to name the mistake. And hopefully it has a catchy name. This is fingers crossed, okay? If anyone is studying marketing and they'd like to help me rename them, let me know. But I will name the mistake. I will then talk about the biological principle behind the mistake. And then we'll dive into research and some data to back those mistakes up. And then we'll end with takeaways. What should we be, the so what? So I hear you, I get it, but what am I supposed to be doing? What should I start doing and what should I stop doing? In order to, again, work and live in line with biology as opposed to against it, okay? I'm gonna be moving fast. Has anyone ever heard me speak before, just out of curiosity, besides Corey? Corey timidly brings a hand up, okay. I am currently strapped up, mic'd up, masked up. I'm not gonna let it stop me. I'm gonna go a mile a minute, so just hold on to your seats. If you feel like you want me to slow down, wave me down, but otherwise we're getting into a Ferrari and we're gonna be moving pretty quickly, okay? I do not have a lot of time. We don't have a lot of time together, so I'm going to be speaking pretty quickly. We're gonna do questions at the very end. However, if you have a burning question that you feel like, if this, I know everyone else is thinking the same thing, just raise your hand and perhaps we'll have time and I can have you shout it out, okay? The room's not that big. I can see all of you, okay? I'm breaking the fourth wall. This is an intimate, and I know there's lots of folks listening on YouTube. Keep the questions coming, and I know we're gonna get to them at the very end, okay? All right, mistake number one, are we ready? Poor hygiene. Swerve. You thought I was going to talk about productivity. I'm going to talk about how to take a shower and wash your hands and wear a mask. No, I'm kidding. When I am talking about hygiene, specifically poor hygiene, I'm actually referring to environmental and digital hygiene. Environmental and digital hygiene. Now, the biological principle behind this mistake of poor hygiene is that the human brain is hardwired, so to speak, to constantly scan the environment for threats. Lions, tigers, and bears. Threats and also opportunities. Why would the human brain be hardwired to constantly scan the environment for lions, tigers, and bears and opportunities? Brownie points for whoever remembers this reference from early COVID. Shout it out. Tiger King. Don't make me feel alone. I know you all watched it. Tiger King on Netflix. Human beings are not that competitive in the animal kingdom. If a lion, tiger, or a bear, not a cow bear, by the way, but an actual bear, were to walk in right now, I would not be able to fight it off. And what is your name, sir? Todd. Much to Todd's dismay, although he's much taller than I am, he would not be able to fight it off either. We are not competitive in the animal kingdom. We are relatively soft, hairless, plushy creatures, some plushier than others, Todd. Our nails and our teeth are not that sharp. Because we are not competitive in the animal kingdom, the human brain has evolved. There we go. Up to 40% of the human brain, of the real estate in the human brain, is dedicated to constantly scanning our visual and our auditory environment. Because if a threat were to walk in, Todd cannot fight it off, I cannot fight it off. The best we could do is to be strategic, to run, hide, to alert others, maybe to create a diversion, but we need to be thinking. We need to be able to see threats, any possible opportunity or threat coming from a mile away. So the biggest pieces of real estate in the human brain, the biggest energy drainers of the human brain, bringing this back to energy, are dedicated to constant scanning. Even when it feels like you're in the library, and for those students who are still in the room, even for those of you parents who are at work, if you work in an open office, which we'll get to in just a second, you're sitting there and you believe that you're focused. There's no off switch. I wish I could provide you an off switch and say, there it is, it's right in the back behind your ear. You can click that and say, now I have 100% of my energy and my focus on this particular topic or task. The problem is that these things, these sensory systems are constantly on. There is no off switch, and they're constantly draining what are called our cognitive resources and bandwidth, okay? Now, my clicker is not collaborating with me. Okay, 2018. Here comes the data. 2018, Harvard ran the first ever empirical study on open offices. They actually followed a few Fortune 500 companies going from completely closed offices, think cubicles, to completely open. Same people, same company. A few of the companies, e.g. the data points, actually did see some economic shifts. Things happened, a leader changed. Those companies were removed from the analysis. Only the companies that had almost pretty much every single thing stayed the same. The only thing that changed was their office. They stayed in the analysis. At the very end, they noticed a couple of things. Two things that I wanted to mention to you all today. One, a significant decrease in productivity. Two, a significant increase in something called salivary cortisol. Cortisol refers to a glucocorticoid, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with. It is a stress hormone. Cortisol is not bad. Cortisol is good. Stress is also good. It's very good for your immune system. You do not want to live a life completely stress-free. It would be very bad for all humans. I do not have enough time to explain burnout and the science of stress. Stress is good, just not too much and not chronically. Okay? That's what we're trying to avoid. They turned to biologists for the answer. Of course, it's no surprise to us. You take a human being, you take myself and Todd. Remember, we're not competitive. Sorry, Todd. I chose the tallest, most competitive-looking person in the audience to pick on. We're not competitive in the animal kingdom. And you take us, and now I'm sitting like a sitting duck in the center of the room, my back exposed. Every single time, and what was your name? Mike. Every single time Mike gets up to go to the restroom, and every single time, what was your name? Ruba. Every single time Ruba gets up to go get another cup of coffee in said open office, what does Todd and my brain do immediately? Scanning, I'm paying attention. I'm sitting here working. My back is to Todd. Todd coughs and I go, it's just Todd. Okay. It's just Mike. Mike, it's like the 7th time you've gone to the restroom today. We got to talk about it. But every single time it happens, your brain in that split second does not know, is it a threat? Is it an opportunity? What is it? Oh, it's just Ruba. It's fine. And you regulate, and you redirect your attention back to focus. Every single time that happens, there's an interruption, a distraction, so of course you're going to see a decrease in productivity. That's not how we deal with human capital in my neck of the woods. You take a human being and you're paying them 6 figures to do a job, and then you're putting them like a sitting duck in the middle of the room, and they're interrupted every 5 minutes. That is not how we create innovation. That is not how we create true collaboration, which is, by the way, the history behind open offices. The hope, the fingers crossed moment was, hey, if we take the walls down, people will talk to each other more. And when people talk to each other more, we'll get more collaboration. And when we get more communication and collaboration, we get C plus C equals I in Silicon Valley. You get innovation. This was the hope. Unfortunately, people talk to each other less in open offices than they do with closed offices. It's fine. We got to experiment, right? We got to figure these things out. And of course, you see that uptick in cortisol, because every single time Mike and Ruba are walking by, we don't know what's happening, okay? Am I saying if you have an open office, everything is doomed? No, of course not. But it's good to have awareness of the impact that it has on our brains, on our productivity, and so on and so forth. Zooming in to auditory distractions. Background noise, but what's called intelligible speech. That means speech that you understand. What might this look like? I want the students, especially in the room, to listen up. You have a podcast playing in the background. The TV is on in the background. You are listening to music in a language that you understand. Please hear me out. Your brain, if you understand what is being said, will background process that auditory stream. That means no Taylor Swift. That means no Celine Dion. That means no Eminem. You have to opt for either music with no lyrics at all, or lyrics in a language that you don't understand. I'm not condemning everyone to a lifetime of Mozart, I promise. It is like running with a weight vest on. I assure you, all of you, both the parents, the alums, and the current students who are listening, anyone even connected to the Cal spirit, you all know that we're high performers. We're high achievers. We're very hard workers. The job's going to get done. The job is going to get done. You will get from A to B, but why strap yourself up with a weight vest so you're wasting more energy in the process? That's the point I'm making here. If you're listening to stuff in the background, I'm not saying you're not going to ace the test. I'm not saying you're not going to get the homework done. I'm not saying you're not going to get the assignment done. It's just going to take you longer, and you're going to waste more energy in the process. That's all. So being strategic about what we potentially listen to. Come on, clicker. There we go. So let's take 5 seconds. Let's think about our typical working environments. If that might be a dormitory, if that might be the library, if that might be the cafe, if that might be an open office, a closed office, something in between, working at home now. What do we see in our environments? What do we see? What do we hear? And what can we really start doing to protect these sensory systems? Because they are, in fact, background draining our cognitive resources. I'm going to start with visual, and then we'll move into auditory. Starting with visual. Think about what you can do to create a visual barrier, turning towards a wall away from foot traffic, and get creative. It doesn't have to be pretty. The goal is for you to maintain as much cognitive bandwidth and intelligence as you possibly can to execute on whatever it is in front of you, and then go do whatever else you want with your personal life. This photograph was actually sent in, it's somewhat comical, but bear with me. This was sent in by a senior vice president in the Tokyo offices of Google. I gave a similar address, and he very sweetly reached out afterwards and said, I've been in my field for over 25 years, and I've never really understood why. I've never been able to get my strategic thinking or my creative thinking, my hard work done in the office. I honestly just don't tell anybody, but I take it home with me, and I do it evenings and weekends. When I'm in the office, I just kind of focus on collaboration and chit-chatting with folks and being available. The next day, he took in bed sheets from his own home and created a fort in the Tokyo offices of Google, which, by the way, are beautiful. Am I suggesting you make a fort? Only if you want to, only if it makes it a little bit more fun. But the point here is get creative. It doesn't have to be an elegant solution. It doesn't have to be an elegant solution, but know this about yourself and know and deploy and create an environment for yourself that actually helps you do the work that you do by removing some of these barriers, okay? And really the point I'm trying to make here is get creative. If you want to get like a Japanese room divider, if you want to, or actually our lab, by the way, at Haas is currently in the manufacturing stages of building what are called corrals. These are going to be made out of felt and whiteboard material, so you can pack it up, set yourself up with it anywhere. Open offices, on campus, off campus, in your own home. Heck, take it to a cafe. But the point is, we're working on it. Feel free to stay tuned. The next biggest energy drain, which is very much work from home specific, and I would say COVID specific, is to hide or ignore what is called self-view. What do I mean by this? How many of you have been on a WebEx, Zoom, Skype, some sort of video call? I'm just trying to get you guys to move your bodies, that's good. I know everyone's been on a video call, at least one. Okay, guys, we're going through a pandemic here. Okay, we've been on video calls. How many of you have been on a video call where you can see yourself? Keep your hands up if you keep staring at yourself on the video. Just be honest, moment of honesty. I see some hesitant hands doing this. Okay, okay. It is not, I'm here to tell you all, it's not vanity, by the way. It is not vanity. There's an area of the brain called the fusiform face area, known as the FFA for short. This area of the human brain has one job and one job only, and that is to process human faces, especially your own. If a human being can see their own reflection, we are wired to look at it. Zoom is like energy, I don't even know, kryptonite. It is an absolute energy drainer for you to be seeing yourself. And by the way, there is nothing more biologically unnatural than for us to be seeing our own faces during a one-on-one or even group conversation. If I wanted to come up and speak to Mike and Gina? Okay, wonderful. So if Mike, Gina, and I are having a conversation here, imagine if I just took out, maybe, potentially, a compact, and I just started doing this. Like, yeah, that's great. How are you enjoying your day, by the way? Great, yeah. Do you all like the campus? Are you all alums? No. Do you have maybe a student and a kid? Okay, that's great. This is what we're doing on all these Zoom calls. We're looking kind of at the person, but I know what everyone's doing. You don't have to lie to me. This is, again, remember, safe space, safe space. Everyone's just looking at themselves. If anyone, so how many folks are investors or maybe have students or kids who are interested in investing? I see a couple heads. You know what would have been a wise investment? Botox sales have been through the roof since the pandemic started. It's because people are constantly staring at themselves, and they're horrified with what they're seeing. I need to contact Haas to update my bio. It says youngest faculty. I was like, it doesn't feel like that anymore. I think that was true one day, one bit ago. But anyway, people keep staring at themselves, and it has had interesting economic impacts as well. People continue to, it's not natural. If I'm trying to talk to Mike and we're in a meeting, professionally speaking, it is not normal for me to be seeing myself. For students in the room, if you're on a hot date, imagine if you took a mirror with you. It's just super odd. But this is what we're exposing ourselves to on all of these calls. My recommendation is to hide self-view. Zoom lets you do that, by the way, in case you all can see this here. If you hit the ellipses, find your own face. Let's say we're all this gentleman here. You hit the ellipses and there's a hide self-view. Google Meet, you can hit the minimize button. FYI for the students in the room, there's a minimize button. It's like 2 arrows that do this. I'm just IT now at this point, right? Figure it out, okay? You're all smart. Google it, figure out how you can hide self-view on your own calls. Next, auditory. Noise-canceling headphones are going to be the gold standard here, but they're not absolutely necessary. The point here is when you would like to deploy more of your cognitive resources and to remove drains on the sensory system, cover your ears, even if you're not listening to anything. Just cover your ears so you can minimize, again, all of the auditory background noise that might be going in to that sensory system and getting background processed. If you like listening to music, listen to music with either, again, no lyrics at all or lyrics in a language you do not understand. For me personally, I am Iranian. I'm Iranian American. I have 2 languages that I speak, 2 languages that I cannot listen to when I'm working. I listen to German and Swedish techno and house music when I'm working, and like EDM. It's super obnoxious, but I've been doing it since I was young. It stuck with me. Don't judge or judge, I don't care. For email writing, I only listen to Spanish dance music. I'm creating cognitive association. So I have different playlists, different focus playlists for different types of tasks that I'm doing. We do not have enough time for me to dive into the science behind cognitive associations, but you can, in fact, choose a playlist, and if you listen to the same kind of music for the same kind of task, over weeks and months, your brain will start to build an association with that music and that task. So even if you don't feel like studying, even if you don't feel like doing math or whatever it is that you're trying to cross-reference with that music, if you hear that music, your brain is going to want to, because certain neural networks will become activated related to those tasks, okay? You can use it to your benefit. Okay, are we ready for the biggest drain on our cognitive resources? Yes? Yes! All right, I like the energy, I like the energy. Does anyone want to guess what the biggest drain? What was it? Close? Social media, close. How do we get access to our social media? Thank you. Dun, 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 dun. There we go. Okay. How many of you all have seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix? Okay, a couple. I do have to admit something. Please don't throw tomatoes, but evil versions of people like myself, these are behavioral neuroscientists and cognitive neuroscientists, were hired hand over foot by certain companies back in the heyday to port over a decade's worth of addiction research. The Gallo Center for Addiction at UCSF, I was on that email list, I remember, earlier on in my career when I worked just across from Haas in Minor Hall. And I've saved those emails because I want to be able to show my grandchildren one day. Because they seemed relatively benign, although to a discerning eye and ear, you can kind of feel the sentiment. We're looking for researchers to help us make our products and software more sticky. Sticky? Not actually sticky, right? We're trying to increase engagement. That just means more addictive. Why else would you be collecting people like myself who study human behavior and human manipulation? Okay, well, unfortunately, it worked for many. So they jumped ship. Fast forward many years later, and I do say that on behalf of people like myself, again, evil versions of people like me, I like to think I'm a part of the good guys, we have a very, very, very addictive device. Everything about the phone, and it's not just the phone, it's also Gmail, it's just all of these tools. I'm here to both admit but also empower. There are teams of people like myself, W-2'd, as in we work full-time. My only job description is to try to make this thing as addictive as humanly possible. It's my full-time job. I wake up Monday morning, 9 a.m. Let's optimize that little ring. Let's optimize that vibration. Has anyone ever had a phantom vibration in their pocket before? Their phone's not in it, and they're like, ooh, I feel like it's, yeah. There's a reason for that. You think any of these things are being decided on just, haphazardly? It's like a meeting, and Mike just says, I like the third buzz. Let's go with that. Like, no, of course not. They're designed. They're tested. Which one creates the most neural stimulation so that if we remove it, your brain goes, ooh, I missed that. I like that. Number one recommendation. I know it's a lot of bad news. There's going to be some bad news, but some upsides, okay? Biggest recommendation that I could have with your phone is to reevaluate your relationship with your notifications. I am not saying get rid of your cell phone. I have a cell phone. I'm not a Luddite. I'm not saying to get rid of all the technology. But I'm saying that I would like you all to be in the control seat and not the other way around. A notification is defined as an alert that alerts you to something that is in fact more important than whatever it is you're doing in the moment. Is it not? That's a notification. It's saying, I am in class. I am in a conversation with a loved one. I am having a moment with myself. I'm focusing on something. And the notification is saying, beep, 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 I'm more important. Pay attention to me. The news is never more important than whatever it is you're doing. I know that's a provocative statement. If you like listening to the news, you just pick the time. You want to check it in the morning? Phenomenal. You check it. The news does not force you to check it. You decide. You're in the driver's seat. Obviously, social media, there's absolutely nothing that's happening that's more important than your own consciousness and your own train of thought. I took the phone. I was at a board meeting in Ohio, actually, a month ago. And I was speaking to it was a chemical company, actually, out in Ohio. And it was their big board meeting, and I picked on the most important person in the room, which is the chairman of the board. So I very confidently walked up, and he had 2 cell phones just sitting out on the table, okay? And I will actually, maybe, if you all will let me, let's see if this mic will let me. I don't have a tether that's keeping me there, so I'm just going to keep going up. Fred, would you let me pick on you?
Go ahead.
Do you have a cell phone?
In my packet over
Okay. Oh, you've got so many devices, Fred. You're like locked and loaded. I'm gonna pick on, I'm gonna pick on someone else back here. Let's see. May I?
Yes, I've been taking notes with it.
Oh, bless your heart. Okay, what was your name?
Jana.
Jana, thank you so much. May I take this down?
Yes.
All right, Jana, we've got Jana's phone. Jana's phone is doing much better than the gentleman I was referring to before. So I'm at this board meeting, and I take this gentleman's phone. I look down on it. This is the chairman of a board of a chemical company that's dealing with a lot of supply chain issues right now out of China. He has an important job. We need him thinking clearly so that we don't have as many supply chain issues. And I'm there to try to help them think more clearly. I pick up the phone, and Jana, again, you're doing great. I see only one notification. It's from the California Department of Public Health. We let that slide. That's good. This gentleman had a notification, like an actual notification as in it interrupted me, from AccuWeather. Do you really need to know that there's like a cumulus cloud coming like 25 miles away due west? Like what do you need to be notified about that for? Seriously, it's summertime in Ohio. You're getting AccuWeather notifications with such an important job? The point I'm really trying to make here is reevaluate your relationship with your notifications because they are, in fact, background draining our cognitive resources. It is not worth it. If there's one big behavioral change any one of you make after this day, it is to turn them off, hold your breath, regulate, and ask yourself which ones are so deeply important that they actually merit interrupting my train of thought and my life. It's going to be only emergency calls, VIP notifications. If, for those of you who are working full-time, that maybe your boss's boss. If you're client-facing, maybe the top 3 clients that if you didn't get the notification, they're expecting a response time of under 15 minutes. If it's not under 15 minutes, you should be organically checking your phone every 15 to 20 minutes instead of real-time tracking, okay? All right. Next piece, this is more of a biohack, which is pretty fun. Jana, if you don't mind, I'm just going to keep your phone down here. I like it. It's got like a good weight to it. I like it. It's comforting me. The biohack here is actually to make the phone in and of itself less stimulating by going into grayscale or black and white. As I mentioned before, everything about our devices, even the color saturation of the icons, the light that is emitted from the screen, is designed very intentionally by people like myself to make it as neurally stimulating as humanly possible. So if you go into settings, I'm telling you, I'm just IT here, by the way. You all are going to find out later that I'm like university IT. You go into settings, and then you go into display. It's a little different for Android versus iOS. But you go into grayscale mode. You will notice, well, first of all, you're going to hate me. I get a lot of hate mail when I ask people to do this. It's like tongue-in-cheek hate mail. That like, my phone looks terrible now. It looks dead. I don't even want to play on it. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of the point. The color saturation and all of the way the phone is designed that I mentioned before, it's the same science behind slot machines and casinos. It's the same kind of thing. You take the color away, you take all the fun, buzzing, lights, camera, action, it becomes far less stimulating to the human brain. And it makes it easier for you to just only be on it when you intentionally would like to be on it. Now, this is the part in the conversation where everyone says, okay, Sahar, I get it. Notifications are going to be mostly off. I'm in grayscale. Check, check. We're good, right? 2017, UT Austin. They took a large sample of healthy, high-performing adults, and they had them take a battery of cognitive assessments. These are tests of attention, tests of memory, and tests of general fluid intelligence. They had them take this battery in 3 different conditions. So they're testing their intelligence, testing their attention, their memory, etc. 3 different conditions. In every single condition, before they actually went in to start any of these tests, they said, question, do you have a cell phone? It's 21st century in Austin, Texas. Yes, I have a cell phone. They said, great, well, we don't want the cell phone or any notifications or whatever to decrease your scores so it doesn't interrupt you. Do you mind powering the phone down? So take out your phone, all of your devices. If you're like Fred, there's like 15 devices now. We're highly connected. And we'd like you to just power everything down so that nothing interrupts you. Everyone goes, yeah, I want to increase my scores. Sure, that sounds fine. So they turn the phone completely off. Okay? Maybe I'll do this with Jana's phone. Can I do this? I'm just going to end up sending texts, I think, on accident. Maybe I'm not IT. Sorry, I didn't catch that. Okay, we're not going to turn Jana's phone off. Okay, there we go. Pretend it's off, okay? It's an off phone. The 3 different conditions. Condition 1, the phone is in the waiting room. I asked Jana to turn the phone off. She powers it completely down. It is a dead phone. It is as stimulating as this clicker that I'm holding here. It's just a prop. No notifications, no buzzing, no lights, nothing. It's a dead phone. The phone is in the waiting room with, what was your name?
Bart.
Bart? Okay. Bart was very excited about this, this piece on smartphones, so there we go, Bart. Bart is in charge, and I'm actually going to give Jana's phone to Bart. There we go. So Bart's got the phone in the waiting room, right, Bart? Okay, all right, wonderful. Jana's in the testing room, and these are Jana's scores. Actually looking pretty good. Pretty good. This is for fluid intelligence and working memory capacity. Then the phone was allowed to be in Jana's pocket or bag. Significant decreases, all of a sudden, same Jana. Significant decreases in Jana's fluid intelligence and working memory capacity. Yes? Phone is still off. Phone is off in all of these conditions. Now, Bart, I'm just using this to get exercise at this point. There we go. There we go. I'm running it back up to Jana. Jana, we say, Jana, please turn your phone completely off. And Jana says, yeah, sure, no problem. It's completely dead phone. And instead of letting it be in Jana's pocket or bag, we let it be on the table in front of Jana when she's taking the assessments face down. So it's right about here, okay? So it's here, and you're taking a computerized assessment right in front of you. And this is Bruce. Hi, Bruce. Bruce is not there to distract you, because I know he would distract you if he was in the room. Let's see if my clicker works from this far. Here, Jana, this is for you. Let's see how fast I can run to make this happen. There we go. Jana's just dumb now. Super significant decreases when the phone was allowed to be on the desk. Again, it's a dead phone. Is the phone ringing? No. Is the phone buzzing? No. Is the phone doing anything? No. It is just a dead phone on the desk in front of Jana. This study's now been ran where it's not Jana's phone. We actually put Bart's dead phone in the room with Jana, and it's still decreasing her intelligence, working memory capacity, and attention abilities. Oh, think about the last time you were in an important meeting. A conversation with a loved one. You want to sit down and have a serious conversation with a loved one, and you want to be 100% present. I want you all to start treating your brains like we do the rest of our bodies and our muscles. It's about, they have a limited bandwidth. This is a finite machine. If the phone is out in the open and you can see it, it is background draining your cognitive resources. And I'm not saying get rid of the phone. I have a phone. My phone's here in my purse. Thankfully, it's on airplane mode, but it's back there. I'm just saying when you want to be at 100%, if that's for a test, if that's for a conversation, if that's for a decision, know that if the phone is in sight, then it's impacting your intelligence. That's all. And then if you want to vegetate on your phone and watch TikTok, that's totally fine. You know the impact. You're educated now. So you just decide. When do you want to be at 50% because it doesn't matter that much, and when do you want to be at 100, when do you want to be, et cetera. There's a question in the very back. Yes. No, totally fine. So this is a fun little science lesson. Anytime you see a proper science plot like this, asterisks indicate statistical significance. If there is no asterisk comparing, for example, this compared to this, these two are statistically significant. The difference between this bar and this bar is doubly statistically significant. So the asterisks will always tell you, it's like a legend of how to read these kinds of plots. But unfortunately, yes, it's not just a bar graph of like they lost a couple points. Those points represent meaningful differences. All right, bad news, I know, bad news bears. The mere presence of a smartphone reduces brain power even if it's turned over and even if it's off. This is a direct quote from the actual study. Oh, I love all the cell phones taking photos of this, like the meta, the irony is not lost on me. Bart and I are gonna have an aneurysm over here. Okay, all right. Mistake number 2, okay? We're gonna take it home, okay? Are you ready for me? Energy's high. I know it's really depressing news. What were the takeaways there? Just be strategic about when you have the phone out. Notifications off predominantly. Don't be the chairman of the board with the AccuWeather notice. You don't need that. You don't need news notifications. You just need the emergency ones on, and then I want you to organically check your notifs whenever you want to. Check the apps you care about, but on your terms. And then the fun biohack of going into grayscale. Unstrategic scheduling. Seems kind of a weird thing to say. Unstrategic scheduling. Well, the biological principle behind this particular mistake is that the hours of the day are not equal for human beings. Here's a stark reminder. We are big bags of chemicals, blood, and guts. We are not machines. Our energy levels and how intelligent we are at any given moment is very much dictated by a wide variety of factors. A lot of those things are hormones that are deep inside that we just have a tendency to be gladly unaware of. And we do not take these things into consideration when we're doing things like scheduling interviews, trying to strategically choose which classes we take. Should I just go for the 8 a.m. because I can get a spot in it? Or should I just wait because this is a super important class? The hours of the day are not equal. 2017, Nobel Prize in Medicine went to 3 researchers who discovered what are called chronotypes. A chronotype is your genetic optimum for your energy profile. It dictates typically when you should wake up, ideally when you should wake up, when you should ideally go to sleep, and also, again, what that energy profile looks like based on your hormones throughout the course of the day. Every person has a biologically preset chronotype. We knew about circadian rhythms, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with that topic. Just, that's like how your energy ebbs and flows throughout a 24-hour time cycle. Why is this important? Why is your chronotype important? Multiple studies have shown that there is a peak performance window, some peak performance hours, 2 to 3 hours in a day, when your brain and your body is at its best. You will get more done in less time with less stress during that time. Exactly how much? Potentially up to 5x. This was a longitudinal study done on executives through McKinsey. You will make better decisions. You will make less mistakes. 5x. If you can carve out just 1 hour in your peak performance window, you get a 5x ROI, a return on investment, for those outside of the business school. What are the 3 basic biological chronotypes? You have the type 1s, the AM shifted people. They wake up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They wake up typically with the sun. They decrease in energy linearly as the day progresses. They go to bed early and they wake up early. These are the morning birds. Then you have type 2, the vast majority of the human population. Type 2. You see the population distributions right here. These folks are on the earlier side. They're susceptible to shifting rhythms. That means it's easier for them to shift, either late or early, a little bit here and there, by 2 to 3 hours. But they biphasic. What does that mean? 2 phases or 2 peaks. Their energy profile looks something like this. Not like John Legend, like the plot over here to the left. They have a peak mid-morning. They have an afternoon dip. No matter what. If you're that person, now you know why. You're designed that way. If after lunch you just feel like a nap or a siesta every single day, no matter what's going on, you slept 8 hours. You're like, I'm doing all the right things, but I'm just tired for a couple hours. And then you have another second wind. This is you. Vast majority of the human population, biphasic. We actually ran this test on John Legend and his team, and he was convinced that he was AM shifted. He's like, I'm a morning person. My wife's a night owl. She's totally PM shifted. Which, by the way, a female PM-shifted person is like a needle in a haystack. It's the minority of the absolute human population. I am one of them. Life is sad for us. PM-shifted people, unite. But we found out that no, he's actually genetically biphasic. This totally changed how he is going to start writing music. Because when you are at your dips, which is going to be in the afternoon, your creativity is actually a little higher because you are so tired that you actually have less inhibition. Probably not the best time to make decisions or execute on things because you're tired. Execute mid-morning, ride that second wave, maybe do a brainstorm or some creative work midday. You can strategically design your day. Remember, the mistake is unstrategic scheduling. Do not fight your body. Know your body and your biology and ride the wave like a surfer. So much more elegant than just crashing right into it on a daily basis. Last chronotype, the PM-shifted folks, the vast minority of the human population. Society is not kind to us. We keep the party going late at night. You know who you are if you are this person. Even if you've slept 8 hours, you wake up groggy. It just takes a while for your hormones to ramp up. Actually, out of curiosity, how many folks here are under the age of 25? Okay, we don't know yet for you. You will kind of come to full manifestation of your chronotype once you've reached like full biological and physiological maturity. Slightly different for, depending on gender, and every body is different. However, almost anyone in their young adulthood, meaning the age of anywhere from like 15 to approximately 23, 25, in that realm, you will always seem more PM shifted. So I don't want to scare anyone. Maybe this will actually be really good news for some that totally seem PM shifted. They're like, I can sleep until noon. I'm not sleeping until 2 o'clock in the morning. You might secretly be AM shifted. The genes just need to fully kick in, okay? All babies when they're born seem AM shifted, even if they're PM shifted babies. All the parents in the room know. You don't get PM shifted babies. They're going to wake up at the crack of dawn. And when we get older into our senior years, we will all typically swing more AM, regardless of what our genetic chronotype is, okay? So those are some of the differences, but these are slight changes. Your core type is genetic, and it does not change, which is the number one question I know we're probably getting on YouTube as well. Can I change my chronotype? No, but you can shift it. If you're curious to know what your chronotype is, you can go to mychronotype.com and use the code HOMECOMING, and it will bypass the paywall. So this is one of our lab's websites. So you go to mychronotype.com, you will get a PDF that will tell you what your chronotype is. You'll take a 2 to 3 minute survey, and it's a validated assessment since I cannot take bio samples from people anymore. I cannot genetically test you, but you can go here, and with 95 to 96% accuracy, we can chronotype you. You'll get it in your inbox, and then you can go about strategically designing your day. This does mean that early rising is dumb advice. So parents, if you have kids that are in school and you keep telling them to wake up early, it is potentially terrible advice. I know I just made a few friends who are in their younger years. You need to wake up when your brain actually works. There's no reason to just force any type of routine or rhythm. Listen to your mind and listen to your body. If you find it easier to study from 10 p.m. to midnight, don't fight it. Leverage it. If you can get 5 times the ROI on 2 hours of studying between 10 and midnight, don't talk to people. Go protect your sensory systems, hide away, and do that work then. But listen to your body, listen to your brain, and ride the waves. Most impactful thing that you can do, take away from this, protecting those peak focus hours, at least a little bit when you can, for the cognitively intensive work. And the quick win is know when you're not at your best, and leverage that time too. Strategically deploy what tasks you need to do. You have a problem set, a homework assignment. For those who are working like I am, emails, really stupid meetings that we're all invited to, try to schedule them when you're not feeling at your best. We all know what they are. I let you figure that out for you. You know what they are. But try to move things around. Don't let the world dictate when you do stuff. You have some control. Mike Liebert, who's a principal at TA Associates in the private equity world, says, I feel absolutely superhuman from 7 to 10 a.m. almost every day. The problem is I rarely get to carve that time out for my important thinking. Now my team uses chronotypes, and we're all encouraged to protect a few hours of our peak performance hours throughout the course of the day. We did it. This is my personal email if you all have, I may regret doing this. But this is my personal email if you do want to reach out for questions, personal questions that we won't have time to get to. If you want to get a copy of today's slides, you can actually use, I know this is the one time I will ask you to take your phone out, but let's see if we can actually do this from far away. You can scan that QR code and use the code HOMECOMING, and I can send you all additional resources. And then I know I will get yelled at by my lab if I don't mention our lab just got an Instagram account, and they're all very excited about it. But you can follow us at Becoming Superhuman Lab, and that is the handle. Yes, sir.
Love your energy, by the way. It's been a while since I sat in lecture hall. But my question for you is, I'm a PM type. Sure. So my question for you is, I've been living this my whole life. I'm a PM, and the problem for me is the world doesn't function on that level. So I'm in the second half of my career, but for the young people, and if you were to tell me when I was 22 graduating, you can't always fit your life, your chronotype into the world. So to the extent you can't, what is your advice for how you do fit with a different type of world?
I love that question. To summarize the question for anyone who may not have heard, if I'm PM shifted, or it doesn't matter, if you're a type that does not fit with the rest of the world, how do you leverage? A couple of things as a fellow PM shifted person. Stop hating yourself for it, first of all, because there's so much emotionality tied to being PM shifted first and foremost. Folks are considered lazy, they want to wake up early. And what is this new thing, this like rise and grind culture? There's like a lot of hashtags associated with it. Everyone says you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to be successful. You wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you go for a run, you have your weird smoothie and your bulletproof coffee, you journal for 10 minutes, you meditate, you do all these things, all before 6 a.m. Bullshit. Just throw it out, throw it out, throw it out. I can do that at noon and be just as successful. It is totally fine. Or do that right before bed. It doesn't matter. So getting rid of the emotions and start talking to people about it. So telling your boss early in your career, if you are early in your career, having the conversations, like I just learned about the 2017 Nobel Prize in Medicine. I just found out I'm PM shifted. What are you? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we optimize each other and when we meet together and when we do stuff. Having conversations and normalizing these things will be the first step as a society for us to start to leverage ourselves and each other in the best way. The second piece of advice is if you do need to make adjustments, okay? We're not at a place where we can have these conversations. We need to just make some adjustments. If you wake up in the morning and you're groggy, or throughout the course of the day if you happen to be groggy biologically, so we're talking hormones, cold air, lots of light. So temperature and light, both of these things regulate a great deal of our hormones. So investing in something like a sun lamp, if you're in a dark area. So this is a lamp that mimics sunlight. So you can put it on your desk and just turn it on and just get blasted with a lot of bright light. And it will trick your brain into thinking that's high noon. When you do that, even if you are in fact PM shifted or biphasic, your brain goes, okay, evidently we need to be awake. You can do that. If we had more time, I could teach you some breathing exercises because we do teach vets in the military. I used to work at the VA. There's some breathing exercises you can do to kind of arbitrarily increase energy throughout the course of the day. So you could throw some hacks at it to kind of make do. But really, for me as a PM shifted person, even earlier on, I make my adjustments, but when I really need to, I give myself 1 day a week or 2 days a week where I try to be as much in line with my biology as I can. That's helpful for me. It makes me feel good. If I can, for 2 days out of the week, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., just really be productive and crank out a lot of work in my own privacy. It can't be every day, you know. I have a household to run and a lot of other things that most of us do as well. So it can't be every day. That would be some gentle advice. All right, we've got some questions.
Two quick questions. One is the thing about the phone and turning off notifications. I mean, many of us have now been using the phone that way for like 15, 20 years. And the students at Berkeley have pretty much grown up with that their entire life. How much of this, the impact of that on the brain is reversible and how much is not reversible? So that's one. And then the second is this thing about having a phone turned off in your pocket and still that being distractive. What's the neuroscience reason behind it?
Okay, I'll answer your first question quickly, but I don't have the slides up to show you all the data. It's brain changes due to behavior, let's just call it that, due to environment and behavior are reversible. Give it 7 to 8 weeks to start and keep it going. It will not be easy for the first, let's say, 6 to 8 weeks, okay, if we want to be healthy about this. So any big adjustment that you want to make, you're going to feel the FOMO, you're going to feel the desire to check it. It's going to be a little bit painful, but it's typically for 6 to 8 weeks. And then after that, you will get used to the new normal, if I can say that. It's reversible. So that's optimistic. And two, to your other question about why in the pocket it has that impact, you know that it's there. So you have to think about what our phones are. And I'm going to have a moment with a lot of the parents in the room. Do y'all remember phones? Like telephones? They were plugged into the wall and they recorded? Yeah. Our phones now are not telephones. And I'm not saying, oh, they're computers, yeah, yada, yada. That's like an obvious point. But I have memories on my phone. I have pictures of my dog, my loved ones. My phone tells me about the future and the past. It tells me what I'm doing tomorrow, because I have my schedule on there. And it tells me about the past, because I have memories on there. I have all of my, the last time you got good news, where did it come from? First, phone, usually. The last time you got bad news, phone, usually. Everything about my life, what I care about most, is wrapped up in that phone. So even if it's somebody else's phone and even if it's dead, it is a reminder of the entire world that I care about and I'm connected to. So if you know that it's there, and this is why the research is other people's phones will also be deeply distracting to you because, for example, way, I see his phone here, even though it's not my phone, my brain knows what a phone is. I see that rectangle and I know, I'm like, oh, that's Mike's phone. This is Way's phone. I know the entire world that is opening up for those people, and that in and of itself is stimulating enough and reminding me of the entire world I have access to, even if it's not pinging and ringing in my own pocket. Yeah. We have one question here.
Yeah, question. I graduated from Cal in the 70s from the business school. And when I was 26, I was able to do like a dual currency, full balance sheet, profit and loss, and cash flow statement in VisiCalc without any problems. And if someone put a gun to my head today, I couldn't do it. And so the question is really pretty basic. As one gets older, what are the issues and what are the mechanisms that you've counseled your clients to overcome that change? First of all, what is the basis for the change, and what are you doing to help people?
It's a good question. If I understand the question correctly, if I may, we're talking about the aging brain. Yes?
Bingo.
Okay. I have some other bad news. Oh boy, y'all are gonna hate me after this. Okay, are we ready for the bad news? Can we all just like take a deep breath? Again, we set the stage in the beginning, right? It's a family-oriented environment here. For those especially listening on YouTube, our brains peak at 25. So for those of you, I know, there's a lot of like now the students that are like, wait, what? Yeah, it's coming, enjoy. You're like, this is it. You're like at the peak now. What I mean by that is our information processing speed and a wide variety of other cognitive metrics do slowly start to naturally, it's to be expected, slowly decline after the age of 25. We're not as fast, it's a little harder to learn. I'm not saying that it's useless. We gain wisdom, by the way, the rest of you youngsters who are like, we have life experience and we have wisdom. But there is a natural cognitive decline that happens as we age. There are a few things, very minimal by the way, things that you can do that will positively impact that cognitive decline and make that slope, if we're following my hand here, make that slope that looks like this, look a little bit more flat. Are we ready for the three things? They're not gonna be easy, but they will be, when I say I could give you all an hour-long lecture with amazing data sets and research to back up every single one of these. I'm not just saying it, I am by no means I don't know how to say this. I'm not a fluffy person. This is a data-oriented answer. Number one thing that you can do to stave off cognitive decline as we age, you must sleep 7 to 9 hours every single night. Period, point blank, no questions asked. You are not an exception to the rule. If you are not sleeping, that line is accelerated. The problem is with sleep is that there are biological mechanisms in the human brain and hormonal pathways that become activated when we are chronically sleep deprived. Your brain will trick you into thinking everything is fine, and you are fine on 5-6 hours of sleep. You are not. But your brain will trick you. If you come to my lab and we actually test you on 5 hours versus 8 hours, I can show you. Numerically, we are less intelligent. These pathways are here for a reason because we need to have babies. You're welcome. There is a period of time where all human beings cannot sleep a full night's sleep, and we need to be okay with it. So evolutionarily, the human brain has developed pathways to make it seem like it's okay for us to be sleep deprived. The problem is we're dipping into that and leveraging that sometimes for professional reasons. And we go, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Your body's just doing that so that it says, hey, you know that like serious trauma that you went through for that child you had? Do it again, that was great. It was not bad. So it just wants you to make more children because human children are very, very energy intensive, let's call it that. But sleep is the number one. Number two, meditate. It's something called attention regulation training in the neuroscience world. I call it meditation because this is what the West is now calling it. Attention regulation training is the only way for you to take your brain to the gym. If you care at all about this body and you put good food in it and you want to keep this running, what do? We move it, we groove it, and we put good fuel in it. This is a part of the system. This is a muscle just like anything else. And the only way for you to train this muscle is to focus it, to force it to focus, even on something super boring like this. And meditation, again, it's nothing spiritual, it's not religious. You focus on something. I'll focus on Todd. Nothing exists for me in the world except Todd. It's just my mind and Todd. I'll look at Todd's glasses, for example, okay? This is not creepy at all, Todd. We established a good rapport at the beginning, and now we're bringing it back full circle. So you stare at Todd, and nothing exists in the world for Todd. And what's going to happen after a minute? I'm going to start thinking of something else. I'm out of toilet paper, by the way, at home. I know it's going around. It's hard to find these days again. But that's where my mind is going. That's what came up. It's really more about resources and comfort, Todd, not necessarily the fact that it's toilet paper. It's not you, Todd. So there's that, and then I go, oh, my brain's not, I'm in charge. You grab that attention, and you drag it back to focus. Every single time you drag your attention back to focus, it's like a bicep curl for the attention network that begins here in the frontal cortex, specifically the medial prefrontal cortex, and it innervates the rest of the brain. This is what you need to exercise at least a few times a week. If you do that, the brain will age far less than it does otherwise. Third, I told you I'd give you 3 reasons. Sleeping, attention regulation training, and the third is, unfortunately, aerobic exercise. I hate it, I'll be honest, okay? But aerobic exercise, and it's not yoga, it's not strength training, it's aerobic exercise. Getting your blood and lungs moving and grooving, unfortunately. A couple times a week, it doesn't have to be nuts, but a couple times a week, those are the 3 things we actually know staves off cognitive decline. The rest of all that stuff, like BPA in your plastics, no. We don't know anything about those things. I know we have so many more questions, but I think we have to wrap. Yeah, so sad. Email me with your questions, or I'll stick around for a couple of minutes, okay?
We do have a small gift for Sahar.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
All right, thank you, everyone.
So a couple last comments. I would encourage everybody to share your learnings and highlights from Sahar's talk today. Another homecoming activities with our social media hashtag. So it's Haas alumni, if you see that. And thank you all for joining today for the Haas homecoming lecture, whether you made it in person or virtual. We're really glad you can make it, and go Bears.
Go Bears.